Puneet Gandhi is a sustainable energy specialist and currently works as a senior associate with the Climate Center for Cities at the National Institute of Urban Affairs. He hosts a podcast called Understanding the Future on the future of work, as well as manages the Innovation Facilitation Center to build the capacity of startups. He has also supported the center in developing policies, partnerships on ground volunteers, assessment for energy and green building thematic area for Climate Smart City Assessment Framework 2.0, and overall communication strategy and its implementation. He was previously working as India's Smart Cities Fellow, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. He founded Orgro Energy, where he worked in the capacity of providing consulting services and was the youngest member in the Global Leadership Program in Circular Economy in Adelaide. He has a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in sustainable energy technology from the Netherlands. Puneet, a very, very warm welcome to you, and it's wonderful to have you here with us today. Over to you.
Thank you so much for such a warm introduction. I'm Puneet Gandhi, and I think Climate Asia has done quite an extensive job to introduce myself. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm glad that all of you could take out time and join us. So I think as we move forward, I'll help you understand what is NIUA, National Institute of Urban Affairs, as well as Climate Center for Cities, what activities we do, including one of the major tasks on building practitioners community for around climate, because I think that's one of the important tasks that's coming up that's required, especially when we consider skill sets. Which is way too important considering there is a shortfall of people who understand climate while they have skill sets, but they don't understand climate to work in it. So let's try to dive in and understand, and please feel free to ask questions between post the presentation as well as type it down. National Institute of Urban Affairs is a policy and capacity building think tank of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It was established almost 40 years ago and has been supporting ministry in developing policies, developing capacity across India. Now, Climate Center for Cities was instituted by MoHUA itself at NIUA in 2019-20. The idea was very simple, that ministry was implementing, had just rolled out a new framework called Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework, which we will talk about in short bit. And we were tasked to implement it on cities. And that is something that our major agenda is. But while that was talked about, when we try to do those things, we were also tasked to make sure that there are several number of organizations currently working across India on climate, especially at cities level. And we wanted to synergize all their actions at one point, that, okay, every city is working around these lines. What can be done? How can it be done? What sort of functions can each city have, and what other organizations can pitch in to make sure that each city can get a sustained momentum of action, kind of action, which will help them move further, have better quality of life and everything. And this can be done via several mechanisms. One is that helping them as technical assistants, helping them develop better capacity on ground, helping them understand different projects, different concepts, because these are upcoming concepts. These are changing with time. Just consider hydrogen. It did not exist 2 years back in India. Now, currently, it's a flourishing topic of discussion everywhere. So, but how do we expect anyone working in the city to understand those things? And that's where these different organizations, which we call partner organizations, come into place to help cities understand climate change as well as take actions on it. So when we talk about it, our main vision is to make sure that cities can build climate actions. And to do that, we consider climate variability, and action one, we take it up as climate variability and climate change considerations are included in all urban projects. and not implemented as separate initiatives. We don't want greenwashing. We don't want anything on the line that, okay, a city did one project and that's it. We don't want it to end over there. We want a sustainable model where every project they think of from today to next 25, 30, 40 years, climate aspect is included in it. And to include it, what kind of systems would be required? That's what we focus on. How do we develop those things is what we focus on for all cities across India. Action 2 that we focus predominant cities mainstream climate actions through improved collaborations with stakeholders, improved planning, infrastructure resilience, and monitoring impacts. So while we say that, okay, you have now developed governance and everything, but how do you make sure that there are projects happening, there are projects considering these things? So how do we improve collaboration? And that is where all the partner organizations come into place. Cities are constantly expanding. Urban area in India is increasing at rapid rate. How do we make sure that while there is a rapid increase in infrastructure, the planning of such infrastructure is taken into account considering climate? And while we do all these things, how do we make sure that there is continuous monitoring? No doubt there are, if we just consider green buildings across India, a lot of organizations, a lot of buildings are taking up green building initiatives. But how much of them are monitoring it? How much of them are making it effective for long term, so that no doubt their capex energy consumption is kind of limited or quantified. Their OPEX is also quantified per se. So that's where Action 2 kind of brings building climate actions in cities part. So when we look at it, we look our center we divide it into 6 separate verticals. First is P4 support, which caters to policy planning, program projects, partnerships, innovation and data solutions, capacity building, advocacy and communications, and research and knowledge management. I'll cover a bit of partnerships as well as innovation and data solutions today, because I think that caters to the larger group of people who would be joining us today. But on the same time, I'd also like to just briefly help you understand what we do across all these different things. So P4 support specifically, we do multiple projects across cities to help them implement climate as an action point. And how do we do that is where a lot of new projects and initiatives that are being done across the world is kind of funneled through an IUA at city level. So we are currently working with 5 to 10 different cities on different climate initiatives that they are bringing up. We help develop national level policies that are tasked by MoHUA. So we have supported in the National Mission on Sustainable Habitat and the NAPCC, or National Action Plan on Climate Change, developed by Government of India. We have support the currently recently launched last month during the COP27 low emissions development strategy, long-term low emissions development strategy for India. We contributed to it on the urban sector. That was the task group 3. So these are all different kinds of projects we take up under P4 supports, where in partnerships we have more than 75 partners on board with us, which help us build capacity at local level, help them understand different things about climate, help them with technical assistance at all DPR stages and everything required. So they work with different cities and different capacities, and that's how we leverage partnerships. But as well as now, at one point, we understood after one of the last assessment that we did, that while we have organizations that partners, we feel that people who are at the ground level or people who are actually in those cities will be the main focal point who can be our partners to develop such kind of actions. And that's where we started Climate Practitioners India Network. I'll speak more about it soon, but this is just for the information from where it comes from. Innovation and data solutions come specifically on the lines of we have trained startups on the lines of what is required in the government ecosystem. We are actively working with Ministry as well, or a program called City Innovation Exchange, which Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs took out. to facilitate startups doing pilot with smart cities across India, and they have been able to successfully uh, fund at least 5 crore worth of projects till now. Then comes the data solutions part, which we will again discuss with Climate Data Observatory soon. And that is something, it's to make sure that there is a data informed decision making now taking place at cities as well as at the national level, not just for policy making, but even for research and local level practices. And inside capacity building, we'll soon see the framework that we use, and we try to make sure that we train as many city officials as possible. We are not just talking about commissioners, but also talking about line department officials, which are the key personals who understand what uh, tasks they need to do and how do they do it. Advocacy and communications have been done via two major campaigns we have done on climate change awareness, as well as a photography competition inside that, where we reached almost more than 4 million impressions on social media. And research and knowledge management is done with all the partner organizations, where we kind of collaborate all the knowledge that is available in this domain and try to compile it at one spot on our website you will find, so that there is an easy access of whenever someone needs about any topic, they can learn about it. So these are uh, the broad things that we do at the Climate Center for Cities. And I'll move forward towards now Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework, which I had mentioned before. Now, this was the assessment started by MAUA, and the idea was to make sure that we can instill governance level interventions and not just project level interventions at city level. And in the second assessment, which happened in 2020, we were able to cater to 126 cities. Well, so 126 cities participated in this assessment, which impacted almost 140 million people in India, or one third the population, urban population per se. And why is this framework special? Because these frameworks already align to several national and international frameworks given, which makes it special, so that we are making sure that while we also try to achieve sustainable development goals 2030, slowly and slowly, this framework is now also part of National Mission on Sustainable Habitat or Low Emissions Development Strategy, making sure that this will be a monitoring solution for Indian cities through coming years up till net zero target is achieved. And that's what we are looking at over there. And it's not just about that, okay, we are going to rank you that how well you're doing, how bad you're doing. We are making sure that does not matter where you have taken action, what action you have taken. Even if you have not taken any action today, let's make sure that each city can progress through 5 progressive levels that are there under each indicator, and slowly reach towards the goal, so that all cities can have a governance level climate action plan at that city level. So broadly, this framework comprises of 5 thematic areas, so which you can see. And these are more or less aligned to all the line departments that any city has, as well as all the state departments which are relevant to cities. So while some water and waste might come under the city administration, and green buildings might also come under city administration, but your energy, which is your electricity or fuel, might come under state departments. And that's what we try to cover. So we kind of in green buildings take data from hello. Yeah. Uh, and as I was saying, that we already aligned with the national and international framework, specifically with disaster resilience plans, city climate action plans. A lot of international frameworks are also aligned that we look into to make sure that while we have our own framework, which is more accustomed for Indian ecosystem, we don't miss out on the global opportunities which are present across the world. Each city can get enough support around the same as well when we are talking about it, making sure that we can develop in a much more faster way, as well as we are able to showcase such things at international level in a much better light, which is important going forward, especially when we are considering climate change, which is going to affect all cities across India. And if you have read National Disaster NDMA policy, it does mention that more than 70% of our districts are vulnerable to disasters across India. Considering that most of our cities do fall into uh, one or the other disaster zone. So this is what we predominantly work around these areas we function, and this is where we divide all our work across as well in thematic areas. I specifically work on energy and green building sector because of my educational qualification as well as the work experience I have. Coming to what I had mentioned before about CDOT, climate data, of course, climate data observatory is what we can. The idea is to make sure that whatever data we are collecting is easily available to you online. It's to make sure that it's more openly available. You can look at it, you can play with it, you can make sure whatever kind of insights you want to generate out of it, you can generate out of it. To make sure that there is an informed decision making, data informed decision making taking place not only at city level but also at national level. And when we talk about it, that I'll show you in the next slide of how we function, what kind of visualizations are available, which makes it easier for anyone to go through it, anyone to figure out, okay, what are the different things available. Uh, so this is the page that showcases on the CDOT the overall performance of Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework. The India map you see currently shows the performance of all the 126 cities from 1 star to 4 star. There are total 5 stars or 5 levels, as I would, wherever a city is, they can try to, we support them from one level to another to make sure that they can reach the highest level of governance and institution. But currently, none of the cities have reached the 5 star level. And every city might have reached at one or two indicators 5 star level, but not overall. So that's what this showcases. As well as on the right side, you can see what are the average score of overall as well as across different thematic areas. If you go onto this, you can interact and you can also click on any of these uh, thematic areas, which will give you more in-depth insights across each indicator of what is the score, how is each city faring, and then at the bottom right corner you can see statewide comparison. So here you can see the overall comparison. Each color represents each thematic area over here, and the scoring across those thematic areas. So this way you can easily figure out that in a state which cities are faring well, which cities are not faring well, as well as see overall which states are doing well, showcasing the growth of states, showcasing the uh, push that the state government is also giving across their cities. And when you click on one of these thematic areas, the indicators kind of change for those thematic areas over here for city level scoring, making sure that you have more uh, perfect or more precise marking that they have been given. You can see it. Then the next page, when you click on the city performance, shows you how a city is faring. So in that, we have marked each city based on the assessment we have developed, where they are faring well from the national average. Here, the national average is on the lines of 126 cities we have compared together, and not all the 4,000 plus cities that we have in India, cities and towns. So here we can see that green cover wise, Varanasi is the city in comparison. It has a CSCF score of 3 star. It is a smart city, Amrit city, but not a capital city. There, it's a metropolitan city with a population of in lakh people and has a composite weather. And when you look at it, that how it is faring, it has good amount of energy efficient street light, wastewater reduce and recycling mechanisms. The pollution is higher than national average at both 2.5 and 10 level. Extent of non-revenue water is much higher. So these all kind of gives a benchmark for cities to directly see that, oh, these are the verticals we need to now start working on to make sure that we can fare well. And how are those things defined? So here we have that what are the action plans they have developed, disaster management plan they have, climate action plan they have not given any data, so that is why they have a yellow mark over there. ECBC bylaws they don't have, water resource management plans they have, CND waste management plans they have. This showcases that they are faring well in terms of policy development that is done at the city level. Action wise, they don't have good public transport or grid milling adoption or energy audit for water supply, but they have water stagnation risk assessment as well as pollutants monitoring, which helps cities understand that how and where pollutions are coming from. And they have not initiated any action on developing biodiversity management committee or green building cell, but have initiated actions on disaster management cell, early warning risk systems, and priority risk hazards, and financial resources to preserve water bodies and aquifers. So these kind of, while the first slide that you saw helps understand from a national perspective of how things are faring, which regions are doing better and not better, what states are doing better and not better, and can states can improve. This shows specifically for cities of what they can improve on, how they can improve, and what they can do next to make sure that they have better institution of climate. And at last, we showcase them best practices. One of the last things. We have made sure that for each indicator that you saw, there are a total of 28 indicators across 5 thematic areas. We have mapped various case studies from Indian cities itself so that cities can understand that how in Indian context these things can function. We do not want any more international case studies, because while they are helpful, they are not contextualized for India. The Indian governance scenarios, Indian project development scenarios are very much different than what is available across the world. So we need to make sure that we have given examples of cities which have fared pretty well and are in the 5-star level. So this is all the examples they can get easily from here. So this is again for cities as well as national level bodies as well as. So all these information is not just for them, but also any academia can use it, any researchers can use it, any student can use it, as well as anyone working in any other organization can use it, because this is available online on our website. I'll surely post a link to the same so that you can have access to it as well. And at last, we show a support network. So we have mapped all our partners as well as CPIN members. This is a bit old snapshot, but we have mapped where all our partners are available as well as CPIN members are available across India. And currently we have 75 plus partners as well as 900 plus CPIN members across India, supporting cities in one format or another. So these are all the partner organizations that we work with across different cities as well as national level. And now coming to the main part of building practitioners community. And as I had mentioned before, the idea was to directly connect with cities. It is very important for us that we do understand we are sitting in Delhi and we do not have direct control of what's going on, how things are functioning in cities, and what needs to be done, where it needs to be done, how it needs to be done. We believe that citizens who are living in those cities are the best people who know what are the challenges they are facing, and that's where we started Climate Practitioners India Network. And the idea, after much deliberation, was on the lines that let's develop a solutions-oriented citizen engagement platform for practitioners across India and climate change. We do not want just someone coming and posting that these are the problems in my cities. We want yes, we have these problems. How do we find the solution? Where are the solutions? What can we do to make sure that these solutions can be adopted in bicycles? And that's where we started developing the network. It's been 1.5 years now. And it's more on those lines that how do we now start developing actions on ground? So what we did was, after initial round of deliberation, when we developed a vision statement for CPID with the public consultations itself on the CPID, we developed, we uh, got 10 volunteers on board who are now helping us, and they work with us 10 hours a month to develop various initiatives, activities, engagement in different format, not just to help people understand what we do, but also develop a better capacity of the citizens in general. And we are not just looking at any. So for us, you are a practitioner if you have any skill set, because we do believe somewhere or the other, whatever you skill set you possess, somewhere or the other, they will align to climate. It's just that you might not have figured out yet what and how they are related to climate, and that's what we are trying to help people understand. So every month we have something called as CPIN discussions, where we bring in experts or panelists from the network itself. They are people who have worked on ground, people who have worked on policies, people who are in academia. We bring them on board, discuss different topics. So last month we had on waste management, and uh, these people will tell you the reality of what are the problems that exist, where policy is a problem, where citizens don't take enough initiative, where things are not aligning well, and what all things can be done to move forward around those lines. So that just makes it more interesting, and it's a 2 hour discussion that happens, out of which half an hour to 45 minutes is exclusively kept for open discussion between panelists and people attending the event. Next one we are currently doing is we are mapping all the climate initiatives being done by citizens and community. So while we are saying that, okay, it's a solutions oriented platform, but how do we know that what solutions work? How do they work? What can we do to make sure that those solutions work? And because it's majorly citizens and practitioners that are part of it, we are currently we want to develop a repository of all the things that any citizen or community can do at their household level or neighborhood level or city level as well, to make sure that some kind of climate initiative is taken. They don't have to wait for that, oh, I need permission from government to do this, or I need funding to do this thing. But these are small little things that you can do to make sure that there are initiatives which will help you, your surroundings, as well as a larger community if you can pick up the movement. So to do that now, we have developed a survey form where we are asking people to fill up those forms, make sure that we kind of have all different solutions which can be taken up across waste, across water sector, energy efficiency sector, and whatever other planting trees as well. But whatever sector can come up that a citizen can do it, how can they do it? If required, what are the various steps required to interact with the government? Uh, let's try to figure it out. Let's try to map it. Let's try to develop a repository of it. So tomorrow, any one of you, any one of the 24 people who are there on this panel wants to do the initiative in your city, at least you have a go-to reference to use it. It's not that, okay, these are the things that I need to do. How much can I do? How can I do it? What can I do? Is then the next question that you can directly think of. And that's the idea behind it. Another thing that we are doing now is, because it falls under an IUA and it is a government-led body, we cannot have or we cannot promote one particular topic of discussion, and that is why we have now for developed subgroups, or we ask people, you have interest in one topic, you start a subgroup, you lead the conversations in those group, and you develop any tasks that you guys want to do together. You want to just learn new things, do some kind of interaction sessions, and take it forward. So currently we have 2 to 3 subgroups which are active. One is on climate communications, one is on data, and another is on waste. So the idea is that they kind of end up meeting monthly or once in 2 months or something. They discuss what are the things they would like to do, what other people are doing, how can they take up new activities and things like that. And while we do this, the whole idea is to make sure that we support each other. Climate change, while a lot of debate will always go on that, 10 to 20 industries do majority of the pollution. Citizens can lead the climate change. The whole part, citizens are the main problem of or focal point of problems where all the things end up being. We want to make sure that as a community of practitioners, we can help each other out. We believe that everyone has faced one or the other problem and everyone has found one or the other solutions. Let's, with this platform, try to connect those problems and solutions to make sure that any practitioner reaches that solutions easy. We do not want it to be that, okay, no doubt it might take time, it might take trial and error, but at least if you have 5 different solutions available, you will know that which one will work the best, which one will not, and at least you can then prioritize how you want to use those solutions. So that's what we are trying to develop. That's what we are trying to make with this practitioners community. And then at last, coming to understanding the future podcast, it's a podcast again based on we try to understand future of cities and future of work. We have till now done 55 episodes. It's, to be precise, 58 episodes. And the idea is in each episode we talk with either a government official, expert, or an entrepreneur to discuss what is that topic. Let's say we are talking about urban lakes or urban wetlands. Then we go into the depth of that topic of what functions in those wetlands, how are those things done, how can we make sure that wetlands across the city can be cleaned, and what processes needs to be done. So those kind of in qualitative insights we try to bring. Each episode is 40 to 50 minutes, and then we anchor all those topics to what are the skill sets required to work in that specific field, bringing in the future of work aspect to it to make sure that any listener who's listening to it will understand, okay, this is what we are doing, this is and you might not know that today your skill set is utilized for any of such topics as well, but this might be a way for you to understand what skill sets can be used across what fields. And that is what we are trying to bridge the gap with over here, while making sure that we are an organization which works around urban area, what looks like urban, a future of urban areas in India. So that's what we try to cater to as well. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'm glad to take up any questions, any follow-ups that you guys have.
Thank you so much, Puneet. Really appreciate you giving us the overview of what NIUA does, and I think everyone living in India, needs to understand the development going on in their different cities and the effects of it. And I also hope that CPIN network grows in the coming future, and you have more individuals joining. We'll open up for questions now. You can unmute yourself.
Puneet, hi, this is Balraj here. Like the way you said, and since climate risk is something really new, and now everybody's trying to work on it, right? And since more clarity is required on how to quantify the efforts like that, and collecting numbers. It's just that somehow I'm logged into this call on my official laptop, so I can't ping. I mean, I will not be able to access the chat window. So it would be great if the link for membership to the group can be shared on email as well. My question, this is like my request. I have this question here that like as you just spoke about, right? So creating a big group and then splitting them into subcategories like this. So like within Bank of America also, we have like an enterprise level group which has been created as climate risk captains. Okay, so people have subscribed to it, and and everybody's like, but everybody's curious, what can they do? And maybe if you can just maybe share some thoughts on this, that how can we now like the group is created, we have like a big number of people participated and want to know more. How can we split that? Like, it's a corporate that I'm working in, so um I mean, how
With
can
the
we like
climate risk, you mean what risks are there around you, or what initiatives you can take? I'm unable to understand that.
so as climate risk, how can we, like, since it's a bank, right? So how can we make changes to our supply chain to ensure that that through the transactions which happen through Bank of America, we try and control any you try and control that any financial transactions that happen should not lead to carbon emissions, maybe through us or through the vendor, like that. So maybe for people who are in finance can definitely work on that. But people who are in operations and maybe who are not into finance as a real main function, how can they contribute to this effort?
Sure.
As you
Thank you
said, that
so
people as you just said,
much.
people is the main thing, right? They are the main stakeholders. So
Yeah, absolutely. So no doubt, it's a very broad thing when you look at it from financial risk point, because it depends on where exactly that risk is coming from as well. I'll just share a brief thing that it is still under talks. It is not yet finalized. It is still under the thought process. But what we are currently thinking is that each city is now trying to come up with something or let's climate action plan. Now, if you would have seen for Bombay and Mumbai, there was one taken out recently, right? Now, now these are the risks that they have mapped across different ward sizes. What are the vulnerabilities where there will be highest impact of flood, rainfall? If something else happens, what will be affected? So, if there is scarcity of water, what are the challenges in that ecosystem? Are there relief places for people to go somewhere or not? So that's one part of it called city risk and vulnerability assessment that any city climate action plan takes up. Another part is on the lines of mitigation or GHG inventorization of how much emission a city is causing. Now, it's very difficult when you look at it the whole city level, how much it is actually emitting, because everyone's using petrol, everyone's using electricity at their homes. It's constantly fluctuating. We can get certain amount of approximations, but it does not always lead to exact amount. But at least those approximation helps somewhere, if we can find it sector wise as well, that this is where it is causing the maximum amount of emission, this is where it is causing more impact. So sometimes your carbon emissions might be low, but your industrial CH4 or SOx emission might be high, which will cause more harm to the environment than your vehicular emissions. So how do you, that's what we try to find out in that action plan and try to give solutions around those lines. So I'd be happy to take this conversation off the line as well, but now we are trying to see if insurance and lending agencies can kind of come up on this plan as well and try to see, because currently they are trying to figure out what data points to look for. But if you have more information on the line that, okay, this area is more, there is a higher chance of risk and this area has lower chance of risk. If this area works around all these activities to mitigate and adapt towards climate change from city lines, can their insurance base rate go down? It's a city level initiative which can go towards personal finance. So we are now trying to work around these topics to be able to help build a better narrative and bring more and more partners around these lines. And that's what, like, if you are talking about any specific things from bank side as well on risk modeling, it depends upon which sector you're talking about risk, because each sector will have different risk cases. You're talking about logistics, it will be a different risk. You're talking about electricity sector, it will be a different risk. So those risks needs to be defined as per the sector. because which disaster will affect you more, how will it affect you, needs to be mapped into it. What is the probability of that? How much it will increase over a period of time, that needs to be looked into. And eventually you can figure out that, okay, this is what is important and this is what needs to be taken into account.
Okay,
Does
sure.
that answer your question?
It does. Maybe then I will definitely connect with you one-on-one as well, because for us it's very new, right? It's really new in Bank of America that we've started working on this. So, but we want partnership from all employees also. So we want that everybody should consider this, right? And then this. So maybe
Absolutely.
I'll
So
connect
we
with you.
absolutely
Sure.
happy to connect. But just give a heads up, we specifically work on urban sector.
Okay.
So anything to do with urban, we'll be happy to help. But other sectors, we might be able to connect you. But again, that's depends on what that sector is, how it is, and if you are connected to it or not.
Sure. Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you, Balraj. Our team will be sending you the link since you're not able to access the chat. Puneet, we have another question from Karishma. She said, do you already have a repository of all the climate initiatives that are currently working? Also, any suggestions on which studies to look at for measuring impact?
So yeah, climate initiatives under our website link or the link tree that I have posted, you will find C-Cube documents in which again you will find all those links, all the reports that are there. Initiative wise, so under MoUA, it is specifically this, but what we have done with Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework is we have tried to link all the different indicators with different government initiatives. So when we are talking about energy efficient street lighting in cities, we have mapped it to Amrut and finance under Amrut. So that Amrut is a project under MoUA again, like Smart Cities Mission, which helps cities develop better lighting infrastructure, water infrastructure, waste management infrastructure. So they can kind of access funds from there easily. And that's what we try to correlate such things. That technical document again is on the website where you can try and see those links. You can surely again reach out to me separately and I can send you those links because I think it'll be difficult to do it one time answering.
Thank you, Karishma. Kunal, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, Puneet. That was a great presentation. Thank you for it. And looking at CPI, and I had a question regarding it. Since we belong and we work at different cities, leaders kind of thing where a person from a particular city should support, or can a person support to a multiple cities? And secondly, when it comes to monthly meetings, you said, how does it go? Like it's about city related, city specific, or a national level meeting which happens and everybody contributes to it. So,
sure. So answering your second question first, it's an online event, so anyone from any city can join in. It's not an issue. And the first question, yes, it is. We do map city based, but as of now, we have not directly started activation of city level networks because we do think that we still need more people on ground to be able to support such things. If there are only 4 to 5 people, we can start initiatives, but to sustain it will become very difficult. And let's say that because you are trying to work on that in your free time and not during your office hours, you are already working on something. So to do that will become very difficult. So we are looking at certain rise in number of people. Once we have reached, we don't have that exact number yet, but as and when we start feeling confident with a couple of cities, we'll start experimenting with it so that we can take it up across different cities.
Okay, that's great to hear. Puneet, a follow-up question. Any of your experiences in past 1.5 years, that one activity that has been successfully converted from to CPI, so that would motivate others to follow?
I think it's still CPIN is pretty new. These activities started almost in this July itself, because almost it took 1 year for us to define its charter as well as getting volunteers on board. So it's been 4 to 5 months where we have been now continuously engaging with the people. So I think it is still a bit early to say that all of anything is a big success. We would say that let's wait for 1 more year. But we do want to make sure that this volunteer program keeps on continuing. We are getting more people on board to do and work around the same as well to make sure that there is higher engagement on the network as well. But it will take time. We are taking the organic route and we are not asking people to we are not doing paid ads or anything. We are taking it slow because we do not want it to just explode. We want it to grow organically as much as possible.
That's great to hear. Great job, Puneet. And the podcasts are really great. I heard one after the other, understanding the future.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Climate Asia, for bringing up this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kunal.
So I see Karishma has asked one question. One more question. Yes, multi-stakeholder involvement in general is of utmost importance in climate, and that is why even under CPIN, we are kind of congregating it as climate change as a whole topic and then trying to do a subgroup division as much as possible. And disease is one topic that people miss out a lot, and including like I think we kind of don't focus on disease a lot, and I was lucky enough to be able to interview Dr. Purnima Prabhakaran from PHFI on my podcast, and she mentions all these things in a very nice way. I would tell you to have a look at it, listen to it. She does fantastic job helping you understand especially from the disease lens, how we should take into account climate change. She does a wonderful job.
Puneet Krishna has asked, how exactly do you guys document climate change initiatives that people might have taken in rural areas where people aren't able to understand climate change but end up dealing with it anyways?
Thanks, Krishna Patel, for this question. We specifically focus on urban as of now because we kind of come from urban ministry. So we don't have much experience around mapping rural initiatives that are taken up. But I'm assuming a lot of work is being done across multiple sectors, especially in the agricultural sector. But from the innovation standpoint, I think grassroots innovation or B Network from IIM Ahmedabad is pretty good at mapping that kind of innovations.
You'll get some answers from the recommendation, Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much for the session. I'm sure all the attendees appreciated you candidly giving them answers. And for everybody who joined, I hope you got a lot of value out of this. Please join the link that Puneet has shared. I hope we can all make a difference in our respective cities. Thanks again, Puneet.
Thank you so much, Climate Asia, for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for being here. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to be in touch and support whatever initiative you are taking up. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.